Now, this is a fantastic tool for sculpting the body. It is really, really good for just getting rid of stubborn fat, belly fat and cellulite and bums and tums and backs of arms. It's absolutely fantastic for kind of clearing out the debris of the body. Hello and welcome to Own Your Health with me, Katie Brindle. Don't forget to review and rate us on Apple Podcasts, and please follow us on Spotify and share this with your friends and family. It helps us get this free content out to as many people as possible. If you're on TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, please leave your comments and questions and we will be able to answer them in these very sessions. So welcome to today's Q&A. Before we get started on to some of your questions for this week, I would like to just read a few lovely comments out from some of this lovely audience feeding back. We have Jay Hurriet says, yes, thank you for grounding this morning and for making me laugh. Oh, that's always a pleasure. Anonymous says, so interesting to learn. Katie's skin is more luminous lately, but her exterior beauty and love for humanity makes her beautiful on the inside and out. I shall be sure, Anonymous, to tell Mr. Brindle that one. He'll be very delighted about that. And Molly B says, oh, Katie, you're such a breath of fresh air. Apart from being an absolute hoot, you come up with some very interesting information. Thanks for making my day. Well, this is true. We do like to tell it like it is on this podcast. And also, I always kind of have a feeling that, you know, as a middle-aged woman myself, and I do think that the majority of the audience is that sort of lady of a certain age, as they like to say it in French. It's a much nicer way of putting it. That often we sort of feel like our lives seem to become about everybody else. And there are a load of taboo things that we shouldn't be doing. And that actually it's really important to discuss our health and discuss our issues and discuss our problems and discuss our purposes and go back to the individual. Because one thing to say before I go into the Q&A is that when you reach 49, which is an age many of us are either at or have just passed or indeed are aiming towards, that is a really important age in a woman. That is, according to Chinese wisdom, the matriarch moment. Okay, I like calling it that, the matriarch moment. And now no one really talks about the matriarch, okay, because there's three archetypes for women: the maiden, the mother, and the matriarch. Right, so before we go into the Q&A, let's just talk about that for a second. Now, the maiden historically is great, okay, because that's the virgin. Now, there's all sorts of stuff about that, okay? So basically, you know, she's pure, she's virtuous, she's kind of got untrodden goods, blah, blah, blah. And so that kind of identity, that archetype has stood the test of time because a woman's virtue is definitely her currency up until relatively recently, okay? Now, the mother was also fine because obviously in traditional sort of patriarchy, that was when the woman was the vessel for the offspring of the man, and obviously they were always hoping for a male. I don't quite understand how people actually thought the human race would continue if every woman carried a male, but anyway, that's what they were here to do. They were here to carry on the male line. And then what would happen is if you died in childbirth, that was the end of you, and often it would be the woman died to survive the child. So often you would find that women would be dead by this point. But if you had actually made it to this magical age of 49 and you actually entered into the realm of matriarch, that actually has been completely shut down. And no one actually knows very much about the matriarch because there weren't many of them. But actually, this is when a woman reaches her full power. Dun, dun, dun. And the thing about the matriarch energy is that actually that's when we really can just kind of like go for it. Because normally at this stage, now slightly altered at the moment because many women are having their children a lot older. But in the olden days, like kind of our mothers going, oh, in our day, we used to just get married and have a family because that's what they used to do. So before women actually could properly go into the workplace and have super interesting jobs rather than just be office wives, which is kind of what we were allowed to do to start with, was that we'd have our children young. Now we're having them older. But in the traditional sphere of things, by the time you'd reach 49, your children normally would be grown up. And then suddenly the menstrual flow would stop. You would stop being influenced to the same extent by the moon energy on a 28-day cycle. And you would be going much more into a calmer cycle, which was much less intense because that lunar cycle had no longer happened. So all of that creative energy that previously was going into creating an egg to create life suddenly becomes yours. And you haven't got small children to deal with. Now, doesn't that sound nice? So the thing is, in the modern day age, many women still have their children and many women are doing these amazing jobs that we're now allowed to do, and many women are absolutely exhausted in the process. But we need to capture that matriarch moment in our lives and suddenly realise that actually wisdom which is really what this podcast is very much about. It's understanding and learning the meaning of life, the meaning of health, the meaning of all your issues is our currency. And it's not what's left from the matriarch frequency, which is what we've been led to believe, which is a very misogynistic expression, which is, that's just old wives' tales. That is a misogynistic phrase referring to matriarchal wisdom, which is our power source. Okay, whereas actually what we have here is matriarchal wisdom, which is really what this information and these Q&As are all about. So come on the wisdom journey with me, ladies and gents, and you don't have to be a woman to enjoy all this. Before we go into the main episode, I'd like to talk to you about Dr. Vegan. Now, Dr. Vegan is a brilliant supplement brand, which I've known and I've loved and I've used for many, many years. And I wanted to just introduce it to you before we go into the full episode. Now, this particular supplement, which I'm talking about, is their Stay Calm. Now, Stay Calm has got over 14 different ingredients in it, and it's basically using adaptogenic botanicals. That's basically it. There's various ones, but a few of the key ones that you've probably heard of are ashwagandha, KSM 66, and rhodiola. Those are the big ones. But there's other essential minerals and ingredients as well. Now, the thing that I love about this product, aside from the fact that I recommend it to myself and my family and my patients, is that 81% of people who've tried this Stay Calm product have reported that it's really helped them with stress and anxiety and enabling them to feel less overwhelmed and more in control of their life. Now, this is really important because one of the most important things in our active health management is to keep that stress response under control, and we need to throw everything at it that we possibly can. The other thing that I love about this brand is that they're vegan, which I really endorse, and also the packaging is planet friendly, because so many supplements, the packaging is really not planet friendly whatsoever, and it's really important to think about these wider things. And finally, it's pocket friendly, so it's planet friendly and pocket friendly because they're giving us a 25% discount. So if you put in Brindle 25 at Till Point, then you will receive a 25% discount off this brilliant product. So that's Stay Calm from Dr. Vegan, and I would urge you all to stay calm because it's the most important thing you can possibly do to managing your health. So now we'll go into the episode. So there we go. That's really what this information is all about. So on that note, thank you all so much for your questions. And if you are on TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, do please leave them because we do try and answer as many as we can. And it becomes the content for the next week's Q&A. And I can feed you this wisdom. So the first question, Sue H says, I love the Hey You body oil. Me too. Thank you. I created it. I'm very proud of it. But trying to eke out the small bottle, that's fair enough. We are in the process of trying to create larger pouches, but we haven't got them yet. Is argan oil good for the Sculptor tool? And the answer is yes. Argan oil is a really good oil, and it's a relatively inexpensive one to buy. It's very rich in fatty acids and vitamin E, and it's extremely nourishing for the skin. It's also very good for dryness and irritation. It's also anti-inflammatory, so it makes it very soothing and calming. And it also has a lot of antioxidant properties within it, which means it's very good for just general skin health. So if you want to use the Hey You oil as your sort of treat oil and you're really merrily sculpting away and you need a good one to slather all over, argan oil is a good one. Another one which I like to recommend is sesame oil. Now, sesame oil, often if you're cooking, you will often buy toasted sesame oil, and that's really fragrant. And then you're going to smell like a kind of Chinese takeaway. So I wouldn't recommend that one. But the untoasted sesame oil is fragrance-free. And it's really easy to apply and it's very inexpensive. Please always buy organic, okay? Bromley Ellie says, I'm a week into using my Sculptor and I'm covered in bruises. Am I being too rough? Right, now this is the key thing. So let me just show the Sculptor to anybody who is unfamiliar with it. It's this massive great tool. I also call it the Beast. Now this is a fantastic tool for sculpting the body. It is really, really good for just getting rid of stubborn fat, kind of congealed areas of sort of belly fat and cellulite and bums and tums and backs of arms. It's absolutely fantastic for kind of clearing out the debris of the body. It's sold out within a couple of days when we first had the stock in. So then we've had a bit of a panic trying to get more stock out of China because these things have to be made by hand, which they're machine made eventually, but there's a lot of hand processes involved in turning huge great boulders of Bianstone into these wonderful, wonderful Sculptor tools. So basically they are now back in stock, thank goodness. But one of the things about using the Sculptor on the body is that you can get these little bruises. Now, let's just discuss this, because this is actually, it's a sign that the fascia, because the Sculptor is very much working with the fascia of the body. The fascia is connective tissue, and fascia gets blocked very easily. It gets disturbed very easily, and that will create a myriad of sort of stubborn health issues, which, despite your best attempts, don't seem to sort themselves out. Often the fascia is the issue. Now, if fascia has been compromised and blood flow has been compromised, which it often is, okay, you will often find you will get little bruises when you start using this, because what you're doing is you're restoring fascia to optimum health. And until the body becomes accustomed to the procedure, you may find that little bruises will appear. Okay, but these bruises are positive. They're not negative, they're positive, because it's indicated that you are getting restored blood flow to previously blocked areas. So it's showing that it's doing its job. Okay, now not everyone's going to bruise, and it doesn't mean you have to bruise for the beast or the Sculptor to actually work. Okay, but it's just in many people, including me. Okay, low level of bruising was revealing that the fascia was blocked, and that it's now starting to unblock, because the bruising is the body actually naturally self-healing. So the key to this, because the thing is, when you buy a new tool, is it's really tempting to go bonkers with the tool and just start like sculpting yourself left, right, and centre, going really hard, really fast for loads and loads of time. And please don't do that. Always, please go gentle to start with. Be gentle. Okay, go gently, be gentle, and only increase the pressure when you feel that you're ready. Okay, it's not an overnight process. We like to call it the grain of sand therapy. You've got the tool forever. If you look after it, that tool will be yours for the rest of your life. Okay, so you can use it every day gently. You don't go bonkers with the toothbrush the minute you buy a toothbrush. Okay, you work with the advice that we give you, and that's what we say. Just do a couple of minutes over the body to start with. Go gently and build up slowly. Next question. Lizzie OC says, can you use matcha powder in a foot bath now? That's a lovely question, especially because I'm delivering this podcast in the summertime and it's quite hot at the moment. Now, matcha is made from green tea leaves. Now, because of which it's cooling in nature. So it would be a very nice addition to a summer foot bath, especially if you've been walking a lot, or your feet are tired, or they're hot, or they're swollen. Okay. It's a very nice addition to Epsom salts. And you could also add matcha tea as well as matcha itself. So because matcha comes as a powder, as well as Epsom salts, and even a couple of drops of mint essential oil would be a very nice relaxing pick-me-up for anybody who's basically just been out, or you've been in high heels or uncomfortable shoes, or been on your feet all day, or it's just hot and you just want to kind of relax. I cannot recommend enough the benefits of foot bathing as a really sensual self-care practice, and it's really easy. I have a little silver Japanese foot bath in my bathroom. It was really cheap. It's like £8 on eBay. Okay, but even if you just use a plastic washing up tub, if you've got one kicking around downstairs, that's a start. Metal is better, but plastic will do the job. And if you can't faff around with that, then if you can lift your leg up, stick it under the tap. Sometimes when I can't be bothered, there's, I can't be bothered to do all that. I can't be bothered. And I still want the benefit. I literally just stick my foot under the tap. And if you can't reach, then just get the shower. Just get the shower head and just literally wash your feet. You'll see how good it feels. It's just such a simple self-care practice. So there we go. Those are the key things that we're talking about today. Talking about how to use a Sculptor, good body oils to use, which are inexpensive, how to use matcha powder to look after your feet. If you found this interesting, do please leave your comments and questions on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. And if not, please review us on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Spotify, because it will help us get this wonderful information out to more people. Thank you so much for listening and watching.